Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Guitar Souls podcast, the quarantine episodes, if you like. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Levi Clay, and I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Mike McLaughlin, for episode number 63. How's it going, buddy?
Not bad, my good friend. How are you?
I'm really good, actually. I'm
Good.
working hard. Well, I say that, right? Good. It's that consumerism thing is taking over again. Like, there's things I want. I've ordered a new guitar, excited about that. That'll be 11 months. But I'm wanting to overhaul my camera rig. I'm wanting to overhaul the way I'm filming videos. So I nearly bought myself the Panasonic G7. But doing my research, I learned about micro four thirds cameras, and that's not suitable for the space that I'm working in. I really need a full frame camera, because otherwise I'd need one of these micro four thirds with a lens that doesn't exist, like a 5mm lens, because my cameras are all quite close on me. So I'm now looking at getting myself one of the Sony, the A7s, the original ones, because they're not they're not cheap, but they're certainly cheaper than buying like the latest Sony A7, the
A7X,
the 3 A7 III. Those are like, £2,000. That's a lot when you consider what I'm wanting to do is to have multiple cameras, so I can have multi-angle stuff for videos. So and then I go, well, maybe I should rebuild my PC, and then suddenly what started out as just wanting to minorly improve the look of your videos turns into, so I need to put away about £7,000 here. Fantastic.
Aye, that's the fun part. What are you talking about? So that's just what you need to put up with. Computers and technology.
So we do the podcast, and you're using a webcam, but I know you have a DSLR set up, right? How are you running that into your PC?
So my DSLR, is a Canon EOS 100. So it's like
the budget,
like pretty much, right? But it's pretty good.
Yeah, it does the job.
It films 1080, 30 frames, maybe 24, but it looks all right. Decent lens, decent sensor. I bought a mains adapter that basically clips into like a battery clip that goes into the body, so you can use it off the mains power. And then I've got a USB cable from that into the computer, and I managed to find software for it. That was a fucking nightmare. It was actually, I couldn't find it until I found like an illegal download of it, and it's the actual Canon software. It's the EOS utility.
Right.
But that's not even the way you get to record it. What you can do with the Canon EOS utility is you can monitor what the camera sees on a screen.
Yep.
So if I was doing a playthrough and I had a screen at the back of the room, then I could see what was going on and get a good frame. So I was doing that and then running that through OBS to screen capture. Yep. But it is like 6 frames a second. It's so bad. So
I ran into that issue, and then now I know the solution to that, right?
Capture card,
yeah. Or actually, better than that, the Elgato, they do the
HD60
camera. No, there's one that's literally just for DSLRs, which essentially will turn any DSLR into a webcam. So it's just a USB stick that goes in, and you HDMI into that. Capture card's great, but it has all this additional functionality that you don't really need for what we're doing. Unfortunately, those, I forget what the kit is called, but they're out of stock everywhere. You cannot buy one of those for love nor money. So hopefully they'll be in stock in the next month or so, and I'll be able to get a couple of those. But yeah, very exciting times. I'm looking to dramatically improve the quality of my video, which is always important, right? And then I'll have a spare camera, which I won't be using, so you can have another camera
to not link into my computer. Fantastic. No, that'd be cool. That'd be good to use. Has Kieran still got your pancake lens?
No, I thought he did, and then I went through my bag, and there it is. So
right, okay, fair enough.
Sweet. I have a full setup.
When you were talking about like the different, like the Panasonic and the Sony cameras and trying to find a lens that doesn't fit, I was like, I remember you going out your way just to get something that was like a short throw lens so you could use it in your previous studio. So to fall into the same issues,
I know,
what a fucking pain in the ass.
The other thing that's really frustrating is you would think that because I have this is the 700D, you would think I've got the perfect lenses for this. I've got a 10 to 18mm on it, which is great for the kind of shot that I want. You would think that this would be able to do the job, but this doesn't have a clean HDMI out on it. So when you HDMI this in via a capture card, you get all of the on-screen information that you would have when looking at this screen on it. So that's.
Can you not hide any of that?
No,
you can on mine.
I don't know if it will hide on the actual HDMI the actual feed that you'd be recording. Maybe because you're using the Canon, that software is for monitoring like it's reading a USB feed rather than the actual HDMI.
I'm talking about like if it's reading the HDMI, then it should read the exact same signal that's going to your screen. I think this is maybe a conversation for off the podcast. I'm sorry, I'm totally taking up time. My point was just to say that I totally understand what you're talking about with things being sold out, because I've been thinking about buying a secondary mic. Obviously, Nancy's been using the Rode for her stuff, right? I can get one of these arm mounts. I could even come and get the one that I've left at yours to do me in the meantime, right, and have a good microphone out here. But see, trying to buy a microphone second hand and be thrifty about it, it's just not happening. There are people selling the Rode NT1A Studio Pack, which is about 160 quid new, for 250 quid second hand. Interfaces are through the roof price wise. I gave one away.
Do you want to know where the real money is?
Tell me.
So I'm thinking, well, I'm not thinking, I need to buy a new car at some point, right? And I need to clear some funds for that. And how am I going to raise that money? Easy. I'm going to sell my second webcam, because these things...
Oh, you're not kidding, by the way.
These things are ridiculously expensive now. Everyone suddenly needed a webcam, and supply, demand,
Yep. So you've got the C920 and the Brio, haven't you? So I've got the C920 as well. I bought it because it was £29 on Amazon, and I bought Mannion one as well, just because I was like, this is a flash deal.
Yeah.
Are you want one? I think I owed them money or something. I was like, I'll just buy it and whatever, right?
Sure.
And they are now going for 150 quid second hand.
Yeah.
What is wrong with people? It's a fucking webcam, and it's not even as good as it says.
But if you need it for work, you know, like if you're forced to work at home and you need one, like you pay it. So you claim it back from work. Like it's just an expense.
I mean, if work are paying for it, that's fair enough. I just think it's mental. Another thing, I really want to get another microphone, but I'm holding off until all this dies down, because I think even normal suppliers are probably holding on to their stock to see if it appreciates, given how... And this is no slight on anybody that started a podcast or started vlogging or anything. Everybody and everything is a podcast now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not a bad thing.
Oh, totally.
It's already a saturated market. It's cool.
Yeah. I think
that's
reason this piece of kit that I want, the Elgato Capture thing, the reason they're not anywhere is suddenly everybody wants to be a streamer. Everyone wants to be a podcaster.
You're bang on.
Yeah. So which is cool. And to be fair, you said that, you know, we're sort of sidetracking, and we are to a degree, but we talk about things like this for reasons other than to talk about them. We're talking about them because I'm sure our audience probably have some sort of input. Maybe someone is going to leave a message and say, you definitely don't want the Sony A7. A better option for a full frame camera at that price point would be this. I think that's the great thing about this podcast. Like, people from all walks of life listen to this podcast. Actually, I found out someone else that listens to the show. I'm going to give him a little shout out now.
Go for it.
I left a little comment on, you know, Arnold Plays Guitar? Does the unbiased gear reviews?
Yes.
He had
I know Arnold.
He put a new video up just recently, and it's a little bit old, but, you know, I'm behind the times. But I left a wee comment saying, you know, good to see you still trucking along, man. And he was very happy to see my comment because he listens to our show every week. So
that's really cool. I was going to send him a friend request a few months ago and didn't, because his profile says, like, if you don't know me, don't send me a friend request. And I don't really send friend requests unless it's somebody that I've like chatted with or I'm likely to chat with. So that's quite nice.
Yeah, good. But
fantastic.
To get us back on track, did you know this show is brought to you by Ormsby Guitars? We want to thank Perry and the guys over at Ormsby for all of their support. It is very much appreciated. For those unfamiliar with Ormsby and what they do, they're wonderful guitars built by Perry out in Australia. And probably what they're most notable for in recent years is actually doing these runs of guitars that are actually built offshore and then brought into Australia for quality control and then sent on out. So if you head on over to ormsbyguitars.com and check out the pre-order section on their website, you can check out some of the upcoming runs, get involved for a very low price, and prepayment plans, payment over a series of months. Great way to get yourself a killer instrument at an absolutely killer price. So as always, thank you so much for the support, guys. Check them out and let them know that we sent you. Anyway, on with the show. And we're back in the room, so thank you very much to Perry and the guys over at Ormsby for your continued love and support. I feel like I just want to go and tell the story again about me doing the 7-string that I'm working on, but genuinely, that'll be coming soon. I'm going to be, it's going to be the thing I'm going to use this for. I'm going to have a totally different shot for it. I'm going to be like, you know, the classic in front of an amp camera thing. So expect to see that bad boy in some cool videos real soon.
Yes.
Yeah. We also apparently need to shout someone else out. Mike, would you?
Yes, Mr. Tom Monda, my handsome friend of Ditch Tickler. And thank you, scientist. Hi, Tom. I told you I would shout you out. This episode's dedicated to you because you are handsome and you write funny songs.
Yeah.
And you've got a cool dog. So deal with it.
Yeah, he's a beast on the guitar as well. He popped onto
It's
the.
fucking frightening, man. Frightening.
He popped onto the Steve Vai stream.
I meant to ask you, how did it go?
It was good. It was well
Because I missed it. I couldn't. It was Nancy and I's anniversary, so
it was.
We both forgot.
It was easy. Honestly, it was easy because I like guitar, and to do it on your own, to just be sat in a room to practice for 10 hours on your own would be hard work. But to do it for 10 hours with people engaging with you and being able to read people's comments and respond to people, I'm still practicing, I'm still playing. That kind of helped me through. And sure, I probably lost a bit of focus in doing that, but honestly, I did quite enjoy the experience. But the thing I enjoyed most was Tom Monda coming on, because he gave some free lessons to everyone. He gave some exercises for people to work on, and just immediately, every single one of them, I was like, that's such a good thing I want to practice that. That is going to be my new thing.
Right, you know what? I feel like I missed out here. I feel like I've been cheated. Another shout out just for your sake. I don't know if you know this, but you know Peter Wall?
Yeah.
He watched your full 10-hour stream.
Dude, there were...
Credit where credit's due, man. That's fucking heavy going.
Surprisingly, right? I'm not going to say it was hundreds of people watched all 10 hours, but there were a handful of people that stayed with me from the start right to the end. I could not believe it. Absolutely amazed by their dedication.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
So glad to hear it. Well, I'm glad it went well. That's what matters.
It was fun. I did enjoy it. Anyway, should we talk about guitar-related stuff?
Nah, fuck that. Yes, let's get into it.
Let's talk about this robber. So the robber of the Hard Rock Cafe.
So this actually came out today, and big thank you. This is like the episode of thank yous, isn't it? Yeah. Big thank you to Nance, my partner. She's a broadcast journalist, and she sent me this saying, this might be interesting for you to talk about. So this was reported today by STV News, which is Scottish television, at 3:12 p.m, as I say today. Thief tried to steal Hard Rock Cafe guitars during lockdown. Graham Lynch sentenced to 12 months in jail after being caught trying to leave restaurant with 3 display instruments. So anyone that's been in a Hard Rock Cafe will probably be like, oh, either those are shit guitars or I wonder what they're worth.
Yeah.
The former comment's probably more accurate than or will answer the latter, to be honest. But I'll read you the story. And I'll give you some context in my mind as well. So, a man who broke into a Hard Rock Cafe and tried to steal 3 display guitars has been sentenced to 12 months in jail. Graham Lynch snatched the instruments from the chain in Glasgow city centre on March 26th, just days after coronavirus lockdown restrictions were imposed. Glasgow Sheriff Court heard Lynch entered the boarded-up restaurant at 3:10 a.m. by smashing a door panel at the rear. The 41-year-old was caught by police as he tried to escape. Prosecutor Mark Allen said he had in his possession 3 imitation guitars which were display items mounted above the bar. Lynch pleaded guilty to housebreaking. He was on licence at the time, having been released from prison 9 days before the incident. Tracy Mulholland, defending, said, on the face of it, this is a ludicrous matter. How was he going to get through the city centre with the guitars from the Hard Rock Cafe? This was in no way a sophisticated crime and was connected to his drug use. So Sheriff Paul Crozier ordered Lynch to complete the remaining 355 days of his licence behind bars before starting his 12-month sentence. So he's basically got 2 years in jail because he fucked it. He must have been out a year on remand. He said, there is no other method of dealing with you other than a custodial sentence.
And that's definitely right. For someone like that, like even when your defender is essentially saying he's an idiot.
They may as well say this is indefensible. He's a fucking moron. Just fire him back in jail. He's literally got out 9 days ago. He's been told, don't fuck about for a year or you go back to jail. And he's been caught stealing worthless guitars.
Imitation, worthless guitars. Actually, there's 2 things I took from that. 1, just how ludicrous it is. But 2, one of my favourite things to watch on YouTube currently, although I've watched them all many times before, I've just gone back into a Chris Hansen To Catch a Predator zone, and because I find them both horrifying and entertaining. It's like that mix of the 2. And the most horrifying thing of those stories is at the end, especially the latest uploads, where they've been re-uploaded by people that have then done research on what has happened to that predator since then, what they've been up to, where they've been and what they've done.
I'm guessing a lot of them have got away with it.
It's not that a lot of them get away with it. No, a lot of them are convicted, right? But honestly, Mike, they get like 90 days.
Repeat offenders, because nothing, as far as they're concerned, nothing actually happened.
I know, but even then, like they have still committed felonies, and they're getting 90 days for being dangerous. Dangerous. Like if that wasn't actually
predators.
if this wasn't a sting operation and there was a 13-year-old girl there, this was bad. So I don't want to make arguments for Minority Report, but
I don't want to get into political, right? We're really bad for doing it, but what I would say is a system is definitely broken when it gives harsher penalties for financial crimes than it does potentially raping a child. And there's no other way to put it. I don't care if you said that you were there and you had permission. You don't have permission. A child can't consent. It is rape. And whether you want to say they're 13 or 14, don't care. Yeah. It's a child. Anyway, we're not going to go any further with that. It is grooming. And if the term for someone is a sexual predator's not really a gentle word.
No, it's not.
There's no connotation about that where it's like, maybe they didn't have the worst intentions. Maybe they're just a wee bit bad. No, you're the worst.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, you can downplay the word predator because the Arnold Schwarzenegger film Predator is so cool. But that would be a very different film if he was that sort of predator, you know?
Imagine just like that predator wearing a thong. That's the only sexual predator I'm interested in.
He basically is, mate. He's wearing fishnets, so...
to a degree.
Right, let's do something... let's do something funny.
Yes.
Because last episode we looked at that Petrucci guitar and we looked at the, what was it? Oh, the Les Paul Twisted. There was that
Petrucci was the best mod I've ever seen. So cleanly done. Beautiful. Nearly as good as the next one you're going to mention.
Some people did say that they would have bought that Petrucci Majesty, though, because they thought it would be easy enough to repair or bring it back to its original state and that the money that you would save on it would be worth it, but I just don't think it would be.
I think, see, if you were interested in playing that guitar and you didn't like a painted neck or a lacquered neck, get it, finish what they've done so far and crack on. The only issue you would have is whether you got to check the guitar out beforehand or not, because that person might have sanded right through the clear coat into the wood and fucked the neck shape.
Who knows what they've done with it.
You can't really do much about that. You can't add more wood on. I mean, you probably could in some degree, but then it becomes uneconomical. Anyway.
Now what we're going to laugh at is another Les Paul. And
another uneconomical guitar.
This one's really sad, actually, because I've got a picture of it on screen right now. Here's the front of the guitar. It's beautiful. I do apologise if you listen to the podcast rather than watch it, so allow me to describe it. It's a Les Paul.
A 96 Sunburst Les Paul, white binding. It's got a zebra pickup in the neck and just a standard black pickup in the bridge, white pickup rings and selector ring, and your standard knobs in silver hardware. So if you picture Slash in the 90s, that's probably what he was playing.
Yeah. So I'm going to read the description before showing the photo.
Okay.
The quote is, "The original owner tried to design the guitar with a stove-top spiral on the back," reads the listing. "This melted the nitrocellulose lacquer and some paint, but did not burn the wood." So now I'm going to allow you to see the back of this guitar. It looks like something like Zakk Wylde on acid. Like, you know, he's come out of a... He's mega. He's out of his tree, and he's like, "Oh, I love that Zakk Wylde guitar. How can I do that to my guitar?" This is what you come up with.
Here's what the seller really missed out on, right? In my opinion, could have very easily passed this off as the only artifact known to prove aliens in the universe, and this was the only thing he could shield himself from alien rays, and that just seems to be like the crop circle burning to the nitro on the back of the guitar. And he could have sold it as that, because I mean, look, this is the only guitar that's ever been shot at by aliens. And it's a Les Paul. The head didn't even break off it. It must be a good one.
Yeah, good point. It's such a ludicrous thing to have done to the guitar. And it's selling for $2,300, which that's too high.
No.
It's way too high.
No. The seller is asking for $2,300.
True.
It's not selling for $2,300, or it would be gone by now.
Fair point. Yeah, okay. You've got me there. Just absolutely absurd. Cannot get my head around what he was thinking. It's a shame because, I don't know if for $1,000, I might consider it. Because the front of it is a pretty looking guitar, and you know, like a late 90s Les Paul. It's certainly not one of the doom years. You know, we're not going to look at that and be like, that'll be a disaster. But
you could have something good.
Yeah,
you could. I mean, if you were going to buy that and get it cheap enough, you would just strip the back to natural.
Yeah, good point.
There you go, done, dealt with. And if it hasn't burnt the wood, great. But I think it probably has. There's a lot of dark patches in those rings.
Yeah.
Anyway,
shall we laugh at Trapt?
We should always laugh at Trapt.
Let's laugh at Chris Taylor Brown. This is actually a really interesting story, a very funny story, because this got posted. We posted this up in our Guitar Souls admin page, and you did what I did, which is you saw the title and have looked at it and gone, but Trapt weren't on the soundtrack. This was a hoax post that was put together to make fun of a situation, and then people took it too seriously, which is true. That is absolutely true. But the reason this is a funny story is because Chris Taylor Brown took it really seriously as well. Oh, and this reminds me, we're talking video games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm playing the new Doom.
Okay.
It's garbage. That might be a little bit overkill, but
That was quite strong.
It's genuinely not very good. And I want to super briefly explain why. So the
Please.
Last Doom, I know you played it because you bought a new monitor with like a mega high refresh rate on it, and it's great, yeah.
I'll basically tell the story.
Go on.
In a TLDR, I started having problems with my computer where I wouldn't boot properly. I went through everything for about a week, and I mean everything, like stress testing memory, checking all the hard drives, making sure all the cables were in and out, re-thermal pasted the fucking CPU, took the cooler off, put it back on, cleaned the computer right out, changed the hardware, the hard drive order, fucked about with boot, unplugged everything and booted it with like certain hardware to see if there was like anything that showed up. And all I managed to discover or narrow it down to is the motherboard was failing but hadn't quite died. So I was like, cool, it was a 3570K.
I love your TLDRs.
I know. So I had an older processor, and rather than going, I'm going to buy another second-hand motherboard that might fail me in a week, I'm just going to get a new processor. But if I'm doing that, I may as well get DDR4 RAM because I only have DDR3. So I as well getting a new graphics card.
Before you know it.
So, apart from the hard drives in the case and the PSU, pretty much I had a new machine.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I can't really be running everything at 1080p when I'm running a 2070 Super. I could probably get like 4K or at least good frames for 1440p, which is QHD. So I went with a QHD panel, which is 144Hz refresh. And the first game that I really tested it on was Doom. So you're right, it was fucking glorious.
And it is a great game because it's gritty. It's I'm not going to say it's real because ultimately, it's running around and killing demons, but it's in a plausible world. When you like find your shotgun, you find it, you take it off a body, right? There's a gritty realism to it. It's not Doom 3. It's not being super super real, or at least trying to be super real. But there's definitely a realism to the game, and I like that. I think it's such a great game. It plays well. I'm sure you can look down the sight of your gun. I'm sure you can. You may not be able to, but you definitely...
I don't remember you able to ADS properly. I think you can for... I think you can, actually.
Well, you can't.
I think you can. I think you're right.
You can't in the new Doom. They've really overhauled it and they've made it super, super arcadey. Like really, really arcadey.
It's meant to be like the original, that's right. And you've got like the jump boosts and you can double jump in the air and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And so like now to pick up ammo, like you have to chainsaw enemies and then all these neon pickups fly out of them everywhere. And
that was the same for the last one?
You find... No, trust me, you have to play it. Everything about it feels like it's a totally different game. The animations don't feel right. There's so much platforming in it. Like jumping, clinging to walls and climbing walls and trying to navigate around. Like it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't play right. All I wanted was more of the last Doom, and this they've put somehow more story in there, but no story that you really understand. Like, why am I suddenly the Doomslayer flying around in this massive spaceship, the Doom Hub, if you like, and then I'm searching out like demon priests and I don't really know why. Like, how does this tie into the last game? In the last game there were characters and there was a story, and this doesn't. This just feels like action for the sake of action, which...
the last story was fantastic. Ardent energy, someone's went mental, you try and stop them, you don't manage to stop them in time, so you go to hell, you come back from hell, then you go back to hell to fuck with everybody.
Yeah.
And that's you just kill everything because you're the best.
Yeah. Honestly, like obviously you will, I know you'll get around to playing it, but I just have to say, I'm not crazy on it. I don't think it controls that well. It doesn't feel right to me. It feels like they've tried to overcomplicate it and make it a more fun experience, but it's not the last Doom. The reason I wanted to bring that up is because we're talking Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, which has just recently been announced as a remaster. They're remaking 1 and 2. And
yes.
I have to say, this game is not going to hit, I don't think, in the way it did back then. Because I believe that the reason those games were so popular is although the gameplay was addictive, and it was also very repetitive, those games were limited. I think the thing that was great about those games was the soundtrack. it was a reason to sit and play, but also just have music playing at you, right? So immediately, even if Trapt were featured on the soundtrack, it just simply wouldn't matter anymore, because I don't think that if you play the new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game, you put the music on. I think the first thing you do is you go into the settings and you turn the in-game music off. Sure, you have the sounds playing, but then you have whatever music you want to listen to on Spotify playing.
I don't really agree with that,
No?
if I'm honest. I think a big part of the nostalgia, certainly of playing the early Tony Hawk's games again, is those playlists, because it's probably songs that you've not listened to in 10, 15 years, or a good number of them. For me, I can see your point,
Sure.
totally. We've got to the point now where there's so much choice to do what you want. I think Grand Theft Auto 3 was the first one where you could put a custom playlist into a game, or True Crime or something like that.
We certainly used to be able to do that on the original Xbox. That was a big feature of the original Xbox. You loaded your music on it and just had it playing your games.
Yeah, I can't remember what game it was, but it was like a custom radio station, and if you made a playlist on your Xbox or whatever, it would play that instead, as if that was the radio station playing along. But for me, it's the same reason that I really enjoy Grand Theft Auto. Like, the radio stations are so well thought out, and the songs are like, you maybe don't know them, or you've not heard them in a while, or there's something you would definitely jam along with. So for me, personally, with Tony Hawk's, I am absolutely on it that I would not be changing the music.
Well, okay, you have made a fair point. Like, there's definitely validity to that, and maybe I'm being a bit dramatic. I won't immediately get this game and immediately turn the soundtrack off. Right, I'm gonna play it for a couple of days with the soundtrack on, just so I can get in that vibe. But I think I'm very quickly gonna go. Like, I just think, because it's a lot of like punk, and I'll put other punk on that I want to listen to when it's not like I'm going to put some jazz fusion on. I might put the Doom soundtrack on, but I think in the long run, if you're playing this game for more than a week, you're just going to want other music over it. I certainly will. Maybe I'm totally wrong. I didn't actually ask anyone. I didn't run that thought by anyone. But I just think the idea of a soundtrack to a new game like this, although obviously it's a remake, so they're going for the original soundtrack, but if you were to release a new game like that, I just don't think the importance of the soundtrack is anywhere near as important as it was back when it was released on the PS1.
Your point is completely valid. I think the only exception to that rule genuinely would be the Tony Hawk's franchise, because everybody, and like, there's genuinely like playlists on Spotify and stuff that have been generated probably by the actual Spotify team of the playlists for these games, because it's so popular. Even though it's all mixed genre, some of it you don't even want to hear because it's shite, but you still put it on. Because it's like nostalgia.
It's actually really funny, because we did a story on this a long time ago. If you remember, there was a game dev that, rather than licensing music for their game, they created a Spotify playlist so you could play that while listening to the game. And I can't help but think that if you really want to play the new Tony Hawk's and listen to the original Tony Hawk's soundtrack, that you wouldn't just play a playlist of it on Spotify. But of course, the upside of it being done this way is that the artists have all been paid a licensing fee. So that would be the correct way of doing it. But you know who hasn't been paid a licensing fee? Chris Taylor Brown of Trapt.
Look at that, we segue right back into the story.
I know. Well, we're trying to make the podcast short, right?
Fuck that.
So tell me about the original tweet, if you have it to hand. I've got it to hand if you don't.
I've got the full 4 windows.
Okay.
So the context, as far as I understand, is, as it says, number 1, I've made that fake Trapt tweet. So a gentleman from Facebook named Eugene Timshik, I'm going to assume that's how you pronounce it, probably completely wrong. He just put a post up just saying, "How do you like them apples?" And it's a screenshot of what's meant to be Trapt's official Twitter, saying, "Our undeniable masterpiece Headstrong will be featured in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Remastered. BTW, no Dancing Gavin's song on this track list anywhere. Sad." So it's Trump as fuck, which immediately gets my back up, right? Dance Gavin Dance, only called Dancing Gavin, right? I think they were getting cancelled at the time, and I don't know what the scenario is with that story, so maybe that's one we've missed. But even the way that it's been written to sound like Chris Taylor Brown.
Or certainly the way we imagine Chris Taylor. I think he's a little bit more literate than that, but yeah.
I just mean like it's typed in almost a style that's he's portrayed in his own tweets, right? So that went up, which was tremendous. I don't know how long it was up online before a petition started on change.org. Don't let Headstrong be on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Remastered, looking for 25,000 signatures, which then led to Metal Injection doing an article Petition to keep Trapt off remastered Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game, nearly 15,000 numbers strong. And yes, that means signatures.
Oh man, this went wider than that. Like, I saw this on like the Metro. I saw this on the Independent.
I didn't see it go that far
This
because
went
I've
far.
never really been at the house. Good. And then I'll let you end it.
I don't have that. The four.
Oh, you don't have it up?
No.
Sorry. Right.
I'm going to end it with Chris Taylor's rants, if that suits.
Go for it.
Right. So you could look at this and you could absolutely rightfully say this is a non-story because it's a thing that didn't actually happen. Chris Taylor Brown never actually said this, so it would be absolutely fine. And of course, the way to deal with that, we all know this, right? The way for Chris Taylor Brown to deal with that would just be to say, lol, you know that's a fake tweet, right? You know? Or to just, like, not even draw attention to it. But he couldn't do that because it annoys him so much that if he was featured on this soundtrack, that people would have a problem with it. So it got to the point that when people were sharing pictures of this tweet on Twitter, he was responding saying anyone disseminating that photoshopped image will also be sued. Get ready. Because he threatened to sue change.org. He was going to sue change.org because they hosted this petition about him. And he's like, I will not be accused of being a racist. He went on this big long rant about, like, you know, I'm half Mexican and if you're a person of color, you can't be racist. You leftists should all know that. Like, he just went off on a classic Chris Taylor Brown rant where he just absolutely fucking lost his mind over it because people were making fun of him. Because you can't just sue people because they share a funny tweet, right? You are in the public eye. You are part of you are part of public discourse. You put yourself out there. You don't have a natural right to privacy. People are allowed to make fun of you. That's how this fucking works. You absolute clown. You are the I mean, this is political, of course, but you are very much of that political ilk who will stand up for your right to free speech. Right? And part of that free speech is people being allowed to make fun of you, you absolute clown.
So, I didn't know that context, right? But just to add to that, some American songwriter-singer called Tillian, I'm not aware who that is, but there must be like a fairly well-known celebrity in the States, tweeted replying to themselves, Trapt and Tony Hawk, who you support politically has no bearing on your blabbering, blundering, ridiculously petty and tone-deaf, attention-craving existence. People want the song removed because of you and your own personality, not because of who you favour. And Chris Taylor Brown wrote back from the Trapt, like,
of course,
Twitter.
Yeah.
You all know that I am not, in fact, at risk of losing a spot in Tony's soundtrack, right? I played that game as a teenager before Headstrong was even written.
Yeah.
Like, why is he getting off and gone mental when, like, that's the kind of replies he can send to other people?
Yeah.
Like, is this guy just mental?
And the thing that's super funny about it is, like, people are making fun of him because they're then posting screenshots about, like, you know, he's promoting his new single and they're just demonstrating how laughably ratioed all of his posts end up getting. Like, you've just announced the fact that your new song is out and it's got 33 likes. Yet when people get raging about you not being on a soundtrack that you weren't on in the first place, that's really the sad part, isn't it, right? Not only are you not on the soundtrack because you weren't on the original soundtrack, but even if they were looking for new artists, they still wouldn't fucking consider you because you're a nobody. I mean, I say that, we're two nobodies laughing about you on the internet, I guess, so a little bit self-fulfilling. But that to me was the hilarious part about it. Like, I'll read the actual original tweet about change. So, Mofo deleted his little change petition in less than 24 hours. No need to sue now. Good choice, kid. No one who is half Mexican can be racist. Only 100% white people can be, using far-left liberal logic. This is why you see so many 100% whites virtue signaling. Sad. Even he did it there. Sad at the end. Like, it's embarrassing. Like, we're not bringing this up because it's a political thing. It's an embarrassing thing. It's so unbelievably embarrassing. It's cringy, and I can't help but laugh at cringe. I can't help but think this is a genuine man that is out there. This is a genuine human being sat there somewhere in the world, constantly annoyed because people tweet at him on Twitter. And I'll just remind everyone, he blocked me because I annoyed him so much. But all of these other people, he needs to engage with all of those. Like, oh, Chris, you clearly know what the block button is. Why? Just stop engaging. Oh, having said that, if he tours, I'm sure he will tour. If for some reason he comes to Glasgow, we have to go see him. We absolutely have to go see him.
Think we could interview him?
I mean, yeah, I don't think anybody else will be asking for an interview.
You're an asshole.
I am an arsehole, but
Oh, I love it, but
nowhere near as
great.
much as Chris Taylor Brown, because while I am also polarising, right, I would like to think I'm not exclusionary, apart from people that I don't want to have to deal with. But you know what I mean? Like, everybody's welcome. You can listen to our content and engage with us if you completely disagree with absolutely everything we say. If you want to hurl abuse at us, we're not going to block you. We'll hurl abuse back. We'll have fun in that. We will, everybody, get involved, have fun. Chris Taylor Brown, like, I imagine he's probably the sort of guy that if you went to one of his gigs wearing a Bernie Sanders like meme shirt, he wouldn't let you in. He'd have someone on the door saying, "Get that guy out of here. He's here to wind me up. He's here to make fun of me." God, guy, stop taking yourself so seriously. It's embarrassing. Yeah.
There's just too much to laugh about people. You know what I mean? It's just too much. And this guy's the worst.
Next time, Chris, just don't take everything so seriously. Just be like, I mean, to be fair, that's quite funny.
Why so serious?
Yeah. Play into it. Use it to your advantage rather than having it as a reason to be headstrong and take on anyone. Again, taking people on. Just chill out, you fucking loser. Right. I didn't mean to delete that. Let's move on. Let's do the Roger Waters story.
I was just getting a wee read on that there because I was trying to think of a segue, but I'm not smart enough, so fuck it.
This is actually a fair point, and obviously one of the things that we often talk about on the podcast is lawsuits, and the next story is a lawsuit-related one. But
us covering legal battles? No way.
Well, this should be a legal battle. This is something that rather than bitching about things online, just have the courts decide how this goes.
I think it might become that. I think it's probably been not wanting to be that way, and then things have went very sour.
Yes. Would you like to read this, or shall I?
I'm more than happy to do that. So Roger Waters calls out David Gilmour, says guitarist banned him and thinks he owns Pink Floyd. So guitarist banned him's a bit like blank for a heading, so I'll give you more context. So there's a quote as the subtext, which is, "I think he thinks that because I left the band in 1985 that he owns Pink Floyd, that he is Pink Floyd." So in a recently posted YouTube video, Pink Floyd co-founder Roger Waters has called out the band's guitarist Dave Gilmour for banning him from using the group's official social channels. "Okay, this is a sort of public announcement," Roger said, adding, and this has been transcribed by Ultimate Guitar, "I rarely speak to fans of Pink Floyd, but that is what I'm doing now. First of all, thank you so much for all the lovely comments that have come back after the band and I put together that quarantine version of Pink Floyd's 1979 song, Mother. It was a lot of fun to do, and it reminded me how much I missed them. And no, it's not Dave Gilmour in the video, it's my solo band guitarist Dave Kilminster. Dave Kilminster is the guy with the black flowing locks sitting on that sofa playing electric guitar."
I have to interrupt there and say that they've spelt Dave's name twice in two different ways right next to each other.
Yeah,
they've got Dave Kilminster and Dave Kilmister. He's not related to Lemmy.
Sadly. So Roger continues, "But it does bring up the question of why is this video not available on a website that calls itself the Pink Floyd website? Well, the answer to that is that because nothing from me is on the website, I am banned by Dave Gilmour from the website. About a year ago, I convened a sort of Camp David for the surviving members of Pink Floyd at a hotel in the airport in London, where I proposed all kinds of measures to get past this awful predicament we find ourselves in. It bore no fruit, I'm sorry to say. But one of the things that I asked for, I suggested that because whoever the 30 million of you are subscribed to the web page, Pink Floyd's official Facebook page is close to 28 million followers, you do so because of the body of work that the five of us created, that Sid Barrett, the late Pink Floyd singer-guitarist, me, meaning Roger Waters, Rick Wright, keyboards, Nick Mason, drums, and David, over a number of years, created. And in consequence, it seems to me that it would be fair and correct if we should have equal access to you all and share our projects and blah blah blah. David thinks he owns it. I think he thinks that because I left the band in 1985, that he owns Pink Floyd, that he is Pink Floyd, that I'm irrelevant and I should just keep my mouth shut. We are all welcome to have our opinions, but there have been rumblings and grumblings in the ranks, I'm told, by friends who have followed these things. And some of the questions being asked are, why do we have to sit and watch Dave Gilmour's wife and collaborator Polly Sampson for year after year, month after month, day after day, and the Von Trapps reading us excerpts from their novels to get us to sleep at night? Chuckles. I'm not really sure what the joke is there.
I'll explain that at the end of this.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's a very good question. And yet we don't get to hear about anything that Roger is doing, or about This Is Not a Drill, which must have been his tour, or when he makes a piece of work and it's not shown and none of the work is publicised. The Us and Them film, which has just gone out digitally for streaming everywhere, it's not mentioned. We're not allowed to even mention such a fact on the official Pink Floyd website. This is wrong. We should rise up, or just change the name of the band to Spinal Tap, and then everything will be hunky-dory. All right, I'm not going to get all weird and sarcastic, though that is the direction in which I'm known to sometimes lean. So thank you again for all your love and warm feelings about Mother. Stay safe, all of you. We live in dire, desperate times, and we need to find out ways to communicate with one another so that we can act cooperatively to stop the man destroying this fragile planet that we all call home.
Yeah. So my gut feeling when I initially read this was you'll see this situation happen all the time from old bands that no longer technically exist. But just because you were a part of the band, it doesn't mean that you then should have access to the band's current page in order to promote whatever it is that you're currently working on. The Pink Floyd page on Facebook should be used to post about Pink Floyd related news, is what I would say. So just because you've done a cover of a Pink Floyd song, I don't necessarily think that means it should be covered on should be posted on the Pink Floyd page, because it is not a Pink Floyd recording. You know, it's just a cover of a Pink Floyd song. Sure, I get that an original member is in there, so maybe you could definitely make an argument for it. But I checked out the Pink Floyd page, and yeah, it is maybe not constantly. They do post a lot of Pink Floyd related stuff, like concert tickets, like vintage ones, memorabilia, that sort of thing. Like, you know, the sort of things that old fans would definitely be interested in.
A fan page.
Yeah. But they also do use it as a platform to share posts from David Gilmour's page and to share posts from his wife's page. So they are using that platform as a way to reach Pink Floyd's fans. And if if it's set up in a way that allows them to do that, then I absolutely think that Roger Waters should have that same option. He should be able to reach those fans, because ultimately, if you're a fan of Pink Floyd, I think you should be able to look at this situation and say, why is it that David Gilmour thinks that page, we're clearly something that he sees as a marketable thing, something that we are some people to sell to. Yeah, he wants to share these posts, not necessarily because he thinks we'll enjoy them, but because he wants to monetize us. And sure, as a fan of a band, you all appreciate that is the position that we're in. Really think about that. You are being monetized, because he knows that the fans of the band have a limited amount of resource, a limited amount of money that they can spend, and he would much rather that money went spent on something that he and his wife created than something that Roger Waters has created. And it's for that reason, because you might spend your money on Roger Waters, that he would never share anything Roger Waters related on the post on the page, and that's ridiculous. That's ludicrous.
Do you think a part of that's Dave being so jealous that Roger Waters is still doing essentially what Pink Floyd could have been doing to this day on his own successfully without Gilmour?
I think Dave Gilmour's probably just jealous of Roger Waters' luscious locks of hair. No, I don't necessarily think that's fair, because I think Dave Gilmour, like, he has been releasing music for a very long time under his own name, and it is popular. It is popular.
Okay, I mean, the only album I remember really any fuss about was it On an Island?
Yep.
Which was, 2007, 8, 9, sometime around about then, maybe?
Some of my clients, transcription guys, and I'm not talking like commercial stuff, I'm just talking like private individuals. I've got a couple of guys that are really into Dave Gilmour. And the reason I'm a little bit aware of the kind of Von Trapp reference that they made in there is because he recently had me transcribe a live acoustic performance that was on a Facebook stream of a song that he'd never seen Dave play acoustically before. So there's definitely, he definitely does have an audience, because of course he does. He's Dave Gilmour, like he's legendary.
Of course, I'm not saying he doesn't have a stake to have one either. He's talented. He's a great songwriter. Sure. He's cut his teeth, and he's popular because his band were very popular. Yeah. But if he's got a vested interest, a stake, and an allowance to that audience from being in Pink Floyd, so does Roger Waters.
Yeah. And to be honest, the videos that I've seen, or the video that I transcribed recently, I forget the name of the song, but it was Dave sat with I assume to be his family. Really like wide angle shot. Something about it didn't. It looked like a play. It looked like he'd been brought on stage as part of a play, and it was like an audience shot of the play type thing. And it was him sat with an acoustic guitar, strumming and singing a song with what I assumed to be his daughter. The production quality was low. They messed up the lyrics. They were laughing and joking during it. Like, it was very. I like stuff like that because I think that's very real. You know, I think it's cool to think that Dave Gilmour or whoever your heroes are guys just like us, and they sit at home with their families and they enjoy time with their families and they goof around, and, you know, they're human. That's cool, right? But it is low production quality. Then you compare it to the work that Roger Waters is doing, and he's put this lovely cover of Mother together. Multi-camera angle, like really a lot of effort has gone to getting this to be cool. Like, that is absolutely the sort of thing that Pink Floyd fans would want to see, and it's stupid that they're not, like, it's not being put in front of them, is what I would say.
Yep.
But the comment I guess I would make
totally agree.
is, like, this is a legal situation that needs to be dealt with, right? If you left the band in 1985, do you still own the band? Are you still we don't know. We don't know what agreements you had in place, and if you just left the band without considering maybe some of those legal ramifications, ownership of the band and the brand, if you like, then you've kind of misstepped there, and you need to have that situation rectified. You need to have that remedied, because it absolutely could be ordered by a court that you are still an equal shareholder of the Pink Floyd brand, and therefore you should have equal share of access to the Pink Floyd fan base. But yeah, I do admire the post, though. I think stuff like this, you'll often. I think there are a lot of musicians that are probably in situations like this, and they don't really want to talk about it because it's essentially like kicking shade for the sake of kicking shade. I just respect the fact that he's an older guy. He's at that stage in his life where he doesn't care. He's going to tell you what he thinks, and yeah, I can relate.
Well, that's good. And that's a great segue, because speaking of unhappy ex-band members talking about people just being having bickers, the Ghost Vodka situation, talking about, or so it's not an ex-member,
no,
talking about Tobias.
Yes.
So we spoke about Tobias trying to sue Ghost Vodka, saying he laid claim to the name.
Oh no, I don't think we'd actually covered this yet.
No, we did last week, did we not?
No, we definitely didn't.
Did we not? Okay.
No, that was I bought it. I posted it in the group because it in itself, the fact that Ghost is trying to sue a vodka brand because they use the name Ghost is, well, very Ghost is the only way I can describe it.
I was certain we spoke about it, so my apologies if we didn't, right? But it's good to see that this brand isn't really taking it lightly. So Ghost Vodka fires back at Ghost the band. Tobias is no stranger to litigation.
Yeah.
And that's quite a snidey comment, and for 6 words it really puts a bit of an impact on, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Do you want to read it, or do you want me to do so?
I'll go for it, even though evidently I can't read. Just purely because you read the last one. So, following an assertion from a legal representative for Ghost that the band will indeed be pursuing a seemingly ridiculous lawsuit against British spirits company Ghost Vodka, the vodka maker has fired back with a statement that outlines the two companies' past dealings with one another and calls into question the character of Ghost's leader, Tobias Forge. So, I certainly do remember talking about... We may have talked about... If they've had past dealings, we may have talked about this before. The only reason I brought it up was the only reason I thought this was something that was worth talking about is it just, to me, it shows how greedy people can be. Like, imagine trying to sue someone over using the name Ghost. Like, you invented the word Ghost. Like, Tobias, have you ever seen that wonderful film called Ghost?
Have you ever heard of Izumiyaki's perfume that's incredibly popular called Ghost?
It's just such a common name that you would use for something.
Bill Murray and stuff because they had a film called Ghostbusters and he's not happy about that?
Yeah, that could be deemed a critique on...
Or a threat.
Right now, we are currently ghost busting, if you like. So, Bill Murray, come and get me. Like, yeah.
Who would you be? Egon?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah, the least cool of the Ghostbusters. No doubt. Slimer, to be honest. Not actually.
I was going to say Slimer, but I was trying to be nice to you. And I was trying to actually be really polite there.
I'm gonna come out of maybe the most controversial thing that I've ever said on this podcast, right? I don't really get Ghostbusters. I never... It's a perfectly functional film, but I don't understand the cult-like status that it has.
Fair.
Nothing about it. I don't look at it and go, this is a timeless classic of Maybe it was when it came out, but I don't think there's anything exceptional about it as a film.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't know if I share your sentiment. I've not watched it in years,
Yeah.
so I'll need to see it again and then decide for there. But if anybody wants to flame Levi,
Please do.
batter in. If you want his address, just message me.
Yeah, you're going to get a message from Lance now.
Bance Lenedict, and it's just picture him with a fake moustache. Hi, friend. Have you got Levi's address?
Yeah, I am my own legal representative. Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, I don't even want to go through and read the Ghost Vodka's statement, just because it's an unbelievably long statement.
Well, we'll just take the best part of it then.
Go on.
We have seen that Tobias is no stranger to litigation and is suing people with an alarming degree of regularity. It also seems there are many questions over his integrity and the authenticity of his origins of the concept his brand has been built upon in the first place. That's throwing shade.
It is, and ultimately, I think the reason I really wanted to talk about this story was just for that, to draw attention to the fact that Tobias Forge is getting a little bit above his station.
Oh, actually, there's a wee bit of context that might be worth putting in here. Apparently, right, this is released exclusively to Metal Sucks. Ghost, the band, first contacted Ghost Vodka about a collaboration in 2016, but the vodka company declined for reasons that aren't specified. Ghost Vodka calls into question why Ghost, the band, then waited 4 years to file a lawsuit, speculating that a need for income in the streaming era could be a motivating factor. Honestly, man, this is just total bitch slaps every 2 seconds,
That's
isn't it? Like,
amazing. So, yeah, it's not like Tobias Forge has just found out about Ghost Vodka. You've known about this company, you tried to collaborate with them, and now is the time that you need to sue. What an absolute fucking clown.
I've got a lot of friends that listen to Ghost, and I just don't understand it. I know you dug one or two of their albums.
One or two of the songs. I bought that album, Meloria, maybe? Was that what it was called? Whatever, the one that had the Grammy winner on there, just for that song. I didn't buy it for myself, I bought it for my wife, and I listened to the rest of it, and there was one other song on it that I thought was passable. I thought the rest of the album was pretty weak, and even that one that was passable, to be completely honest with you, I certainly would never. It was like the best pick of a bad bunch, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never choose to listen to it. It was the best song on an album that wasn't great.
Well, we'll just end it with this, right? Which is the top comment on this thread. Okay. The irony here is you need to get shit-faced to enjoy Ghost's crappy music.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
It's just a really dangerous route to go down, Tobias. It's so unbelievably important that you have the support of the community that you sell to, and shit like this will never, ever, ever go well in the community that you're trying to sell your music to.
I really want to go through the comments here because there's a lot of people who are saying they're fans of Ghost and just slagging them. Can I give you 2 good examples that I've just read? Oasis didn't sue the makers of the soft drink Oasis, and they're massive cunts. As much as I love the band Ghost, this court case is making him look a bit of a penis. Right? And then, why doesn't this litigious Papa Emeritus Smurf try to sue Ghost in the Shell, A Ghost Story, The 4 Ghosts from Pac-Man, Ghostbusters, Goats, which kind of sound like Ghost if you aren't paying attention.
Oh, mate, the part in that killed me is the 4 Ghosts from Pac-Man.
It's just stupid, but like, I suppose it highlights the stupidity of this fucking legal battle.
Yeah.
Or, it's not even a legal battle at the moment, is it? Really?
The Purple Turtle comment right at the bottom isn't there a band from the 80s called Ghost, right? And I'm going to say yes, because I don't need to look. Of course there will have been bands that were called Ghost, because it's such a fucking generic name. You might as well call yourself fucking, I don't know, Rock. Like, it just means nothing.
We are the band. No one's ever used that before.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, like, what would I consider to be the most generic band name that could exist? Metal, like, just Metal. Cool. What's your band's name? Well, we're called Metal. Like, rubbish. Stupid. Okay, the last story.
Yes.
I think, yeah. Oh, no. No, definitely last story. We'll throw that last bit in as a sad bit to end. Because who doesn't love ending the show on a sad ending? Why don't you do this?
That's us, isn't it?
Muse one.
So this piqued my interest as soon as I saw it, because I was like, oh.
I know you're a fan. I
mean, it probably of both, to be honest. Yeah. One more than the other. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, for those of you that I'm cock teasing.
Which is which.
Aye, as I'm cock teasing away. 7 days ago, Guitar World reported that Matt Bellamy just bought Jeff Buckley's Grace Fender Telecaster and plans to use it on the next Muse album. I love the Grace album.
Yep.
I think it is fucking ridiculous, and it took me quite a long time to get into. Didn't understand it. Wasn't really big on the crazy coloratura vocals or the arrangements. And then you hear stripped back versions of the songs, and there's like see if they went with the basic beat, the song wouldn't be half of what it is, which I really love about it. It's really well written music, and it's been refined to sound the way it does. And I love the album. And the idea of Matt Bellamy, who, credit where credit's due, is fucking dynamite at making crazy noises with guitar and doing a lot more with the instrument than you probably should be able to do.
I would say he's our generation's Tom Morello. I know that sounds crazy because Tom Morello is kind of our generation, but I actually would argue that Tom Morello is probably 5 years too old for us.
I get what you're saying. He's like the next level of that. Let's combine crazy noises and mad technology and this guitar. And I think the next generation of that's probably Greg Kuklinski, if that's how you say it, or Kuklini, I can't remember how you say his surname, the guy for Carbomb.
Oh, okay, yep.
Because that's, again, getting into that thing, or PED.
Yeah, just the idea of using a guitar as a tool to create these just wacky, out there sounds, doing things that you don't pick up the guitar to do. Like, trying to do something new. I like that. I respect that. I do respect that. And I do like Muse. I'm not gonna pretend I don't like Muse. I do like Muse.
Oh, like earlier Muse, mid-career Muse, Dynamite, the newer stuff I've not gave much a listen, but when it went quite electro, it wasn't like what I was expecting. Plug in Baby and fucking all that kind of stuff. Fill your boots.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is an exclusive to Guitar World, not anymore because we're talking about it 7 days later. The arena rocking frontman and massive Buckley fan on how he intends to keep the historic guitar alive. So one listen to Matt Bellamy's piercing falsetto reveals his huge admiration for Jeff Buckley, and now the Muse frontman has purchased perhaps the ultimate piece of Buckley's musical history, his iconic 1983 Blonde USA Fender Telecaster. In an upcoming interview with Guitar World on his leadership of Manson Guitars, we quizzed Bellamy on the last piece of gear that impressed him, and suffice to say, we were not expecting the answer that followed. So he just cracks it away. I've got to say, I just bought Jeff Buckley's guitar that he used to record the Grace album. I'm not kidding. I had a whole team of people doing due diligence on it to make sure it was absolutely the right one, interviewing his family and all sorts. I managed to get it verified, and I've got his Telecaster that he recorded the whole Grace album with, and the song Hallelujah. I haven't bought it to hang it on the wall with a picture of Jeff saying, look what I've got. I bought it to actually attempt to use and integrate it and keep this guitar part of music. I'd like to believe that's what he would have wanted. Fucking,
yeah,
what an answer.
There's no information on, I mean, it's a long story. I've scrolled through it. There's no information on exactly what he paid for it, but it was valued at $50,000 in 2011. So, could be one of those where it's valued considerably higher and that was what was paid for it, or it could be very much like the Peter Green Les Paul, which was valued very, very high, but Kirk bought it because he got a very good price on it.
I would think it could be either way, actually, just with you mentioning that, because the family might love the idea, the notion that Matt Bellamy's bringing that guitar back to life and giving it justice.
It wasn't owned by the family when he bought it.
Was it not?
No.
Well, whoever it is. Or they might have just been like, brilliant, this is definitely a collector's item. I know this guy is absolutely choking to have it. Bump the price up. So, who knows? Anyway, it kind of goes without, or it isn't really too relevant to the story. So, Bellamy soon called in his team at Manson to investigate the guitar's unique tone, which as many fans of Fender's iconic solid body have noted, sounds quite unlike any other models in existence. It sounds so weird, it doesn't sound like any other Telecaster, Bellamy continues. I've had all the electronics analysed, nobody's changed anything, but the pickups, they think the neck pickup was a mistake by the manufacturer because for some reason it's slightly out of phase, and there's also something weird about the wiring. To cut a long story short, it's got an extremely glassy bright sound, and it doesn't really sound like any other guitar I've used before.
Yep.
Which is fair, because I mean that's entirely what the tone was like on the album. But I think to Jeff Buckley's credit, a lot of that piercing high end was probably taken away by the fact he was great with dynamics. So
yeah,
and I think he played a lot without a pick, didn't he? It was mostly fingers.
Yeah, the guy knew jazz is what I always say about Jeff.
Is this true?
Yeah. Yeah.
I always just saw him as more of like a folk
He was he at
hero.
Berkeley?
Was that right?
I'm sure he went to a prolific music school. He was at the Musicians Institute in Hollywood.
Right, cool. It's a shame that we don't have the price of what it went for, but it came from Matt's Guitar Shop in Paris, France, and there's a great write-up about it and some beautiful pictures of the guitar if you're interested. Matt's Guitar Shop, just look up 1983 Fender Telecaster, Jeff Buckley.
So the secondary reason I wanted to talk about the story is because there was another kind of cool Matt Bellamy story. Like, I have to throw a lot of respect to Matt for this. He's been working with Manson guitars since virtually day one, right? Like, back when Origin of Symmetry and Showbiz came out, like, that's what you saw him playing. He was playing a Manson. And this Matt Bellamy, over the last 20 years, could absolutely... There's been points where you could consider him one of the top names on the guitar scene. Maybe not in terms of technical proficiency, but I'm talking about the kind of guys that go on the cover of guitar magazines. Yeah.
He was on Guitar Ultimate, not Ultimate Guitar. What do you call it? Fucking, what was the magazine we always spoke about earlier on in the episode? Total Guitar. Yeah. Sorry. We just every second issue.
Yeah.
Had Matt Bellamy on the cover or in some sort of feature.
Yeah. So outside of having tons of respect on the guitar scene, he's also got a ton of respect on the music critic scene, if you like. Muse are a highly respected band, music, like, critically speaking. They've won numerous awards. Like, Matt Bellamy is the peak of what you could consider success in music to be. It's actually really funny to me because, like, my childhood girlfriend, there was a point just before I was dating her where her sister was dating Matt Bellamy, and it didn't work out. And this was like just before Origin of Symmetry came out, and like, being a young kid, I remember looking back and like hearing Origin of Symmetry, and like, it was a running joke in the household. I would listen to this album, I was like, can't believe you didn't continue to date that guy, he's awesome. And this was back when that, like, to think like he was just like a local guitar player, like just anybody's local guitar player, and then he went on to be one of the biggest properties that you could imagine. And at no point has he said, sorry Manson, sorry guys over at Manson, I'm going to go with Fender. And let's not pretend that won't have absolutely been an option at numerous times in his careers. Every single guitar brand out there will have tried to have courted Matt Bellamy. Excuse the pun, because he does have a court signature. But that is a Manson court, if that makes sense.
It's licensed by Manson, that's right. I think they own the design for it.
Yeah.
The shape, potentially. That weird not
type.
Telecaster single cut, but is.
Yeah.
Actually, we had a few of them when I was in Magnum. We had the red sparkly one and we had a black one. And genuinely fucking great guitar for the money.
I reviewed it for Guitar Interactive magazine. So if you look online for reviews of that guitar, one of the prominent ones will be me doing a video review. It was a great guitar. It genuinely was.
Was it the red sparkly one?
No, it was the black one I reviewed.
The black one. The finish on the red sparkly one was dynamite. Like, really, really well done. And I've no doubt that would have been just as good a playing guitar as the one you played. So you're right. And this isn't throwing shade. This isn't being an arse or like making comments or just being a dick. But like, you find that artists chop and change depending on what the offer they get. And sometimes it's not so much about the guitar as much as it is what status is going to bring it with them or get them from it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, again, not going to give any examples, not throwing any shade, but that's generally how the music industry works and the music business works. And that's fair enough, because at the end of the day, as you always say, there's two words to that: music and business.
Sure.
If you want to make a career and make money and sustain yourself, sometimes you need to just be like, cool, I'm going to go where the money is.
Mate, I'll give you an actual physical real world example. Tom Quayle. He was playing Fibonacci guitars for years and he loved them. And when he went to Ibanez, it wasn't because he stopped loving the Fibonacci guitars. And it wasn't that he hated Ibanez guitars, but there was money. It was just a sensible business decision. He likes the Ibanez guitars. He likes the Fibonacci guitars. But if you have the opportunity to have a signature guitar with Ibanez guitars, that's a smart business decision. And when you've got a family to feed, food to put on the table like that, yeah, I don't think anyone would look down on you for that. Even the guys at Fibonacci were totally supportive of it, because it's
as to be expected. Yeah. And there's ways that these conversations go within businesses. It's not as if Tom would have been like, see ya! Yeah. You know what I mean? He'd have obviously been in and been like, look guys, I've had this offer. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but you know, everybody's had to think about, if I'm going to leave a company, leave my job or whatever, but you don't want to, it's just because you want more money. You always want to leave in like good terms. You you'll miss the people you work with, you'll maybe even miss the work, whatever else.
Yeah.
Endorsements are going to be much the same, especially for people who are playing with a brand for a long time. But my point is, Matt Bellamy's went from being an endorsee to more or less owning a part of Manson Guitars, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a majority shareholder.
You know what I mean? Like, that's commitment to how much you love that instrument and that brand being part of you as well. And fantastic for them, because as far as I know, they started pretty much as a very small custom shop.
It was Hugh Manson was just making and designing the guitars out in Devon.
There you go. And I don't imagine there's a lot of them on the market these days, except maybe the court licensed versions. But any guitarist on the planet that's heard of Muse knows what a Manson guitar is.
Yeah.
And 90% of guitarists know who Muse are, so know what a Manson guitar is.
Yeah. So the story is Musicians Radar ran a little story just talking about, where is the quote? Matt Bellamy reveals plans for Manson Guitar Works pedals plus a whammy loaded guitar. So it was just to say that, the company's still here, it's doing its thing. We're going to be doing lots of cool things coming forward, and it's not just going to be about effects, but it's still about effects too. And they're planning to release pedals, which is kind of cool, and I like that. Here's some quotes from Matt on that. Like, I'd like to do a combination of both traditional and modern effects. Think of a couple of fuzzes, but fuzz sounds that are a bit more unique and unusual, specifically recreating some of the sounds that I use in the studio. I'd like to create an effects box that does one of my standard sounds in the studio, which is basically a crunch and bite of a Vox amp, but also with a high saturation of a diesel amp, like a metal sound. So, this is a man that cares about tone. So if he wants to toy in pedals, tinker in pedals, a concept which I think Kirk Hammett invented, the guitar player making pedals.
Caught me off guard.
Yeah, I know. They're also planning some signature models, but not necessarily all expensive ones, because, of course, we have mentioned the Court one, and that retailed, maybe £500-600?
I don't think it was as much as that. Yeah. If I remember correctly, it was about $450, maybe. Could be talking straight. It was the MBC one.
Yep.
I would believe it was called. Let's Google it now. What it's going for at the moment is $449.
Okay, yeah. So that was extremely well. But when I was younger, I actually did quite like the idea of having a Manson guitar, because I've always, even in that young age, I've mentioned this in videos recently, I used to play in a Muse cover band. I really did genuinely like Matt's playing, and I was always drawn to that idea of playing a guitar that no one else was playing. So the Manson guitars were appealing, but back then, young kid, I certainly did look at those Manson guitars and go, wow, they were really expensive. The idea of spending £2,000+ when I was 15 on a guitar that nobody had ever heard of was a bit ludicrous. So I think it's good that they are still considering, or they'll still be doing their own things, the own Manson branded stuff, but also looking to do things that are going to be a little bit more affordable for people. So yeah,
for sure. It's funny you were mentioning about reviewing one of the NBC ones, because I put in Court NBC, and the very front page of Google, third video, you.
Yep.
Still as handsome as ever, mate. Just a lot more hair, generally in the beard.
Yeah. I can't even remember what I play in that video. Probably, I'm sure I came up with some silly Matt Bellamy inspired riff. Cringe. The problem with the internet, right? None of it ever goes away. When you do something online, it's always there. But it feels like a lifetime ago. Life, mate, isn't life? Life is so fleeting. Life, you're here and then you're not, and everything feels like a film to me. You look back at things that happened to you 10 years ago, and it feels like someone else's life that you watched one time. And I'm going to use that as a segue into our sad story of the day. You saw it coming. Fair. You saw it coming.
I was going to do the same.
You do it.
Thing, maybe a bit more or a bit less heartfelt than you did. I don't think I'd done it quite as gracefully. Not intentionally, but otherwise. So I sent this into the group just after we recorded the last episode, I believe. Just a few days ago. Some of you might know this already. I'd imagine that there's not many people listening to the podcast who haven't heard of Iron Maiden. But a few days ago, it came out in the news that Bruce Dickinson has been left heartbroken as his wife, Paddy Bowden, died in a tragic accident.
Yep.
Which is pretty fucking horrible to hear, you know what I mean? Paddy Bowden, second wife of Iron Maiden star Bruce Dickinson, 61, has died. The singer, who has 3 children with Paddy, called her death a terrible tragedy. Bruce said in a statement, "This is a terrible tragedy, which appears to be a tragic accident. Our children Austin, Griffin and Kia and I are devastated. Out of respect for Paddy, we won't be making any further comment at this hugely difficult and painful time for our family." Levi and I were both kind of torn on whether to talk about this or not, but I felt it was worth bringing up just for people to be aware. And I'm not one of the thoughts and prayers type of people, and I don't mean this as in like send messages to his Facebook and try and get his address, but maybe nice to have Bruce and his family in your thoughts and prayers if you are the type who prays.
That very much sounds like a thoughts and prayers.
You know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. It's hard to put into words what you're trying to get at. Like,
I want the sentiment to be there. I don't mean as in like the power of positivity of you thinking about it will do him better. Just horrible story, horrible things to hear, and
what I would
send my condolences to him and his family.
Well, I would say, and I'm sure we've done this on the show before, but I would say go and tell someone you love them. You know?
Yeah.
Just use Bruce as an example. You're never going to be able to reach out to Bruce. You can send your thoughts and prayers, right? But guess what? He can't hear them. Like, they're not going to him, and you can't change what has happened. But you can learn from what's happened. They had been married for a long time, but they split up. It's speculated in 2018, but they announced they split up last November. So it's not like, you know, he lost the person that he was sleeping next to every night. But still, this is someone that when you've shared 3 decades of your life with them, when they're no longer there, you're gonna feel that. Even if, you know, it was an unpleasant parting that you had with them in your relationship, you will still, there's inevitably going to be regrets surrounding that. So what I would say is go and tell someone you love them. Maybe
Correct.
you don't say it enough. Maybe you've never said it, but say it. So yeah, that's my
get it done.
Shall I use that as a segue?
Go for it.
This show has been brought to you by Ormsby Guitars. If you are unfamiliar with Ormsby and what they do, I would recommend you head on over to ormsbyguitars.com. Absolutely wonderful instruments made out of Australia by Perry Ormsby. You know, they focus on a lot of really interesting things, probably most notably the multi-scale thing. You can see a couple of them hanging behind my head. I am a big fan of the Goliath series. Having said that, I've also almost ordered myself a Hype over the years, and I think the thing that Ormsby do that, well, lots of companies have dabbled in, but they do a great job of it, is these runs of builds. You can go on their website now, check out the pre-order section of their website, and you will see a series of upcoming runs of guitar. You can get in on those with prepayment plans and really get yourself a nice, well-built instrument for an unbelievable price. So thanks to Ormsby Guitars for supporting the show. Go and check them out and let them know that we sent you. Thanks very much. And there we go. Another episode of the Guitar Souls podcast has come to an end, and we do sincerely hope that you have enjoyed this. As always, please do like, comment, share, subscribe. Reach out to us. Let us know that you have enjoyed this. I'm going to mention the Discord server. Of course, Yavor, when he leaves his timestamps for this, will comment that I haven't left a link to the Discord server, but that's something that you have to ask for, because that's how Discord works. I can't just post the link and it stay active. They what's the word I'm looking for? Terminate. They cease to work. They work for a limited period of time.
Expire.
That's the word. They expire. So a link would expire. But of course, there is a Discord server. You can reach out to us on there and post your stories. Anything that you think would be worth covering is a great use of your time. You know, as always, we do love reading your comments and all that stuff. It's what makes this thing fun. Going back to what Mike was saying earlier about, and what I said about doing that 10-hour stream, the thing that got me through it was engaging with you guys. So do reach out. Let us know the engagement. We really do enjoy it. Check out our merch on our Teespring store, because you know, we have to keep the lights on and all of that stuff, and there's some great shirts on there. You might enjoy one of them.
I need a 4th gold Ferrari. 3 isn't enough.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Michelangelo Battio gave me the keys to the Lamborghini when I was younger, but he didn't give me the actual Lamborghini, so I've got those keys. I just don't know where the fucking car is.
I'm going to give you the keys to the Lamborghini.
Bastard.
Fuck that.
Greedy bastard. Cool. And of course, big thank you to our friends over at Ormsby Guitars. Mike, any closing comments?
Just the same. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for paying attention to Levi and I talking mostly bollocks for about an hour. As Levi said, having a sad ending there, it's maybe nice to reinforce that you should tell the people you love that you love them. And 3 other things I would like you to do. I want you to sit up straight, release your shoulders from your ears, let your jaw relax, and remove your tongue from the top of your mouth, and you will feel better within 5 minutes. I have been really bad for my posture recently. I saw a
Right.
post about this, and I've been doing it every time I think about being tense, and it does make a difference. So do that, stay hydrated, continue to be beautiful, and no political slurs anymore, because Levi gave me a row 2 episodes ago and then copy and pasted it out.
Can you also just mention Ormsby for me? Because I'm going to do something.
Only if it's good.
Yeah, it will be good. Go on.
What badge are you going to do?
You won't even know. Go on. Talk about Ormsby.
I love Ormsby guitars. They're my favourite, and Levi is going to Photoshop me into something bad.
No, I did. I just moved the entire screen over so we couldn't see you anymore, and we could just see your Goliath.
Oh, this beauty here.
That's
Goliath
me.
6. I've been telling you for weeks that I've been getting in and out of guitar, right? And this is genuine truth, right? I've been playing my hype quite a lot. I've tuned it up to C. So I was really scunnered with playing guitar. I brought it out, plugged into the amp, and I'm like, this sounds really good. And then I was like, this is like a really thick tone, which I don't usually get from my guitar, because, I mean, that one's obviously really twangy and bright because it's small body, channeled out, mid-output pickups. But for whatever reason, it just sounded super girthy. So I was sitting playing songs off the Anthems of Rebellion and a couple other albums, and then ended up playing some stuff by As Blood Runs Black. I played a wee bit of a couple other bands, just like mostly nostalgia shit, right? And then earlier on today, just before we started recording, I came out here for a wee hour and a bit, like, right, there's new Party Cannon stuff that I want to really get my teeth into. I've not been paying it as much attention as I want to, just with real life and everything going on. And I more or less finished 2 songs that I had been partially working on, with great thanks to this beautiful guitar, because as soon as I plugged it in, I was like, fucking yes.
Yeah, I like
So-
an instrument that inspires you to play. I'm doing
I
my
love it.
live stream next week on the hybrid type thing, to transcribing all of the Charlie Hunter stuff. So Perry, I still need a hybrid guitar. So if you could, let me know.
Make it so.
Make it so. Mike, until next time.
Bye, fuckers.